Well, hi there. I'm Diana Montford, the world's first transgender television journalist. Born male, became female. I have to make that clear because of their haircut. People sometimes say, well, which direction are you going in? You know, like, no. But anyway, born male, became female. And yes, I probably should let my hair grow a little. It's too short right now. But anyway, okay, I cut it myself, as you can see. Anyway, do you want a hot sex life? Do you want to have bone-crushing orgasms? Do you want to have orgasms that make your ears ring and make you think you're having a heart attack? Don't you love that kind? I don't have them often, but when I do, thank you, God. But okay, we have a sex expert here, Ms. Beatty Cohan, who is, yes, a sex therapist, and she's going to tell us how to go to paradise. You are, aren't you?
Sure.
Good. We need to know. The world cries out. We want to come. Tell us.
Well, look, the reality is that before we get to paradise, we have to look at reality, Diana.
Oh, I hate that. I knew it was going to be something like that.
We have to look at reality, and we are not doing all that well in the bedroom in this country.
Speak for yourself.
Well,
okay,
thank God I have a great sex life with Jim, my husband, but I'll tell you about a study, and I think that people are going to be a little surprised about this. This was a study with 100 heterosexual couples who described their marriages as either happy or very happy. So you would think, or you would hope, that their sex lives, right, well, were going to be really great.
Yeah.
Well, this is what we found, is that 50% of these very happy and happily married women had difficulty becoming aroused, okay? An additional 35% of these women had difficulty with orgasm. 15% of these women were unable to have orgasm under any circumstances at all.
Even alone?
Well, they were that's a really good question. I would hope that they were masturbating if they were not able to have orgasms with their husband, or if they were having difficulty, and that they would take care of it by themselves. And with the men, a third of the men in these happy and very happily married marriages had issues with premature ejaculation. And as I was telling you before the show, it is the easiest problem.
How do you fix it? Give a pearl of wisdom to the people out there.
If you give me your fingers, I will show
Here's
our
my
viewers
finger.
exactly what you have to do. So before you feel as if you are going to ejaculate, now I will never know this because I am a woman, but there is a sensation before the sensation
like you're about
of ejaculation.
To pee. Yes.
Right. And what you have to do is squeeze very, very hard just below the rim of the penis.
You know the mushroom? Right under that.
That is exactly right. It's a good way of describing it. For about 15 to 30 seconds. And then what happens, men, is that the urge to ejaculate subsides. And then you were able
Keep
to...
pumping.
Yeah, you were able to do... and you're going to have to probably practice this for a while. I'll tell you a really, really cute story. There was a young man who I treated in my private practice, and he had a girlfriend, and I think he was 19 years old at the time. And
it's interesting that he would know enough to go to a sex therapist.
I was
at that age.
so impressed.
Yeah.
So impressed. And I told him, I said, look, this is what you need to do. The squeeze technique, which is what I just demonstrated, is one technique. And the other is the stop-start, where you are, you're stimulating yourself, you're stimulating your penis. And again, you feel, and the men will all know this, the sensation before the sensation of ejaculation, and then you stop stimulating, and you're actually practicing, because it's a skill like tennis or any other, any other endeavor, so that you're able to sort of catch it before you actually do ejaculate. And this young man, he was totally committed, Diana, to really learning this skill very quickly.
I love dedication, don't you? Yeah.
I was so blown away by him.
So to speak.
Yes, so to speak, right.
Yeah.
So I told him that I wanted him to do this, several times a day. And he came in after the first week with a graph, and he was masturbating probably 5 to 6
Was he
times
an
a
accounting
day.
student? A graph. I love
No,
it.
It was great. He did this, and he was masturbating about 5 to 6 times a day.
Whoa.
And within that first week to 10 days, he had acquired the skills so that premature ejaculation was no longer an issue.
Wow.
And his girlfriend was really happy, and that was the end of his therapeutic relationship with me.
Isn't that fabulous?
It was great. So young, so young, so young. And then if we're looking at erectile dysfunction, and again, man, I really want you to take this in. In this particular study, 52% of men between the ages of 40 to 70 have some issues with erectile dysfunction. Now, what's also really, really important is that we see all the ads on television about the Viagra, the Cialis, and the Levitra. But the first thing that you need to do if you are having erectile dysfunction on a regular basis, now every man will know that on occasion there are going to be some issues. So I don't want you to freak out about any of that. But if it becomes an ongoing problem, what you need to do is not just ask your doctor, your urologist for a pill, but there could very well be some blood flow issues having to do with blood flow problems in the heart. And this is where a really, really good physical to rule out any cardiac issues need to be done. And I think we're very, very quick in this country, whether it's in the world of antidepressant medication or anti-anxiety medication, everybody's taking a pill. And it may be that you are going to want to take a pill, and that's fine too if you need to, but you really do need to rule out any blood flow
like
problems.
blood clots, something else.
Exactly. So that was the results of the study. So I mean, basically, if you're looking at couples who really consider their marriages to be happy and very happy, very happy, then what is going on in the bedrooms of the majority of people who would not necessarily define their relationships as happy or very happy. And I see in my private practice here in New York City and in East Hampton, many, many couples of all ages that rarely, if ever, have sex. And when they do, the sex is not all that satisfying. Of course, they're seeing
they're not among the very happy, are they?
Well, this is the thing, that if your relationship is not in a good place, certainly for the majority of women, and I coined this phrase a number of years ago, emotional foreplay, Diana. And women, we know exactly what that means, so that if your relationship is not in a good place, I mean, obviously, you're not going to feel like just jumping into bed and having sex, which is why you need to deal with the relationship issues. The other thing, too, is that if we're not in a good place, if we're depressed or anxious, or we have a variety of different
or work pressures.
Right. So this is where we need to take care of our own business. The couple, the relationship needs to take care of the couple issues. And something else that people have to realize is that there are incredibly numbers of sexual side effects with all the medications that people are taking.
It really, you can.
It's over the top.
Yeah, I mean, think it through. I mean, you can get like headaches or something from Viagra.
You certainly can. Yeah. You certainly can. And all of the antidepressant medications, other than Wellbutrin, and I'm not saying that you should necessarily be on Wellbutrin, but they all have sexual side effects.
Meaning they kill your sex drive.
They can numb you out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the high blood pressure medications, and I mean the list goes on and on and on, and also the over-the-counter medications. So you need to talk with your doctor, and hopefully your doctor is going to take more than 3 minutes to discuss what's really going on.
But in today's world of no home visits and everything being insurance oriented, they're going to give you 3 minutes because they want the next one and the next one and the next one.
Exactly. And people need to really ask for what they want and come in, if necessary, with a written agenda and say, look, I have 3 things that I really need to talk to you about. In fact, I had a urologist on my Ask Beatty radio show on the Progressive Radio Network, and it airs live every Monday from 3 to 4. And there was a study done with 2,500 men who had literally just come from seeing their urologist. And what happened was over 85% of the men were never asked about their sex lives, which I thought
That's weird. You go to a urologist and you're never asked?
well, I mean, could be issues with prostate cancer and, other urinary issues, but the topic of sex is still something that people have a lot of difficulty talking about. They're not comfortable.
That's weird.
Yeah, being Canadian and, having grown up and being educated in a very liberal country, it's very
I come from
surprising.
a very liberal family, so this is weird for me, too.
People are uncomfortable discussing sex with their partners.
With their partners?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Yes. Asking for what they want. I want you to touch me this way, or I'm not comfortable with you touching me that way.
Exactly.
And it's
I really
important.
hate it when you do that. Stop doing that.
Exactly. And yet, what I'm wanting, your viewers to really take in is that your partners, nobody is a mind reader. So that if there are things that you want and things that you need, they need to be communicated and discussed. Otherwise, you're going to end up feeling, oftentimes very, very frustrated
and
sexually.
Very cheated,
And very cheated. And, I think that we all need to become a lot freer with our bodies. I mean, you would think that because we live in this very highly sexualized society, that people are having a lot of sex. I mean, I'll tell you a really cute story. I lived in Sarasota, Florida for 15 years, and Sarasota tends to have an older population. And two women, Phyllis and Charlotte, I loved them. I want to be them when I'm 90 years old. And I had been treating them originally for clinical depression. And after we got through that, both of them had boyfriends. And I want to tell you, their sex lives were much, much better and more frequent than many people that I treated in their 40s and in their 40s and 50s. And one woman, Charlotte, and of course I'm changing all the names, she asked me, she said, Beatty, I want you to show me how to give oral sex. And I was coming to her because she lived in an assisted living facility.
How can you not know? Well, I guess.
She was 85 years old.
I'm trans, so it's a natural talent.
Right. It was, of course it's a natural talent. But it isn't for a lot of people, even for a lot of people who
get a banana.
That's what I did.
Yes.
I went into her kitchen.
Everyone practices.
That's right.
But we usually do it alone, so we're good when we're with someone.
She was amazing. We took the banana.
Yeah.
And we're looking out at the Gulf, and I'm showing her what you need to do, right? And she did it, and she died at 90 with a smile on her face. She had a number of physical problems, and she was sexually active with a partner and with herself.
That's very important. To learn how to give to others, you have to be good with yourself.
Exactly.
Many years ago, we had Beatty Cohan on.
Yes.
She's great.
Yes.
And she told us all, masturbate for God's sake, you know? You have to learn what your body is.
You do, and it's a great stress and tension reducer.
It's also very easy. Like if you're too tired to have like actual sex with your partner, you can masturbate and it relieves the tension.
Absolutely.
But it's not like a big production, you know.
Exactly. And to be able to talk about these kinds of things and introduce, if you're into sex toys or if you're into porn, whatever it is that makes you feel comfortable. Of course, I don't want you to do anything that makes you feel uncomfortable.
But do stretch your limits.
And if it works, good.
Yeah,
and if it doesn't, it doesn't.
A lot of people have this niche, I can't do that. I can't do that. Try
it, but if you are uncomfortable, I mean, that is something that people should not engage in.
We're going in a very puritanical direction these days with people saying, he groped me at a party a year ago. Well, put on your big girl panties, for God's sake, grow up, you know?
Yeah, the whole Me Too thing. I mean, look,
I love it, but it's going too far, I think.
Yeah.
I agree with Catherine Deneuve. It's like, relax, folks. It's only sex, you know? I mean, sure, if you're Bill Cosby or Harvey Weinstein, raping is not nice.
Exactly. Today, just before coming to the studio, I read in the Huffington Post that the head of the CDC.
Yes. Dr. Frieden.
Yes, and that he had groped a woman a number of years ago.
1 year ago at a
Right,
party,
yes,
and they've been
yes.
friends for years, and she called the police now.
Yeah, and he was fired, yeah.
That's
So
ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
I think it's ridiculous.
I mean, please. And he groped her. He didn't rape her. He groped her.
And a lot of
A year ago at a party.
Well,
where everybody had had a drink or two.
A lot of really staunch feminists, and I know that I'm a very progressive woman, would not be happy with what we just said. But I think it's absurd.
I think it's ridiculous.
Okay, well, we're on the same page.
I mean, please.
Yeah.
And whatever happened to the jokey... Harvey Weinstein said something very interesting.
A whole different thing.
No, but he said something. He said, when I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, I think he and I are like exactly the same age, it was different. And it was very jokey. It was very fun. It wasn't, I mean, you didn't have a heart attack if some guy looked at your legs and said, wow, great legs.
That's true. But of course, he raped women, and if you look at the Bill Cosbys of the world,
he gave them Mickeys and knocked them out. That's too sad.
And I think that there is a continuum. I think that there really does need to be a continuum. If somebody goes like this, I mean, I'm hoping you're not going to report me to the police.
If somebody goes like this, I just say, hey, get your hands off me. I'm not going to what do I tell the police? He grabbed me. They'll say, okay, and so?
Well,
relax.
I'm not so sure now that would necessarily be the reaction. And look at what's happening on college campuses. The studies show, the statistics are that 30% of college women are alleging sexual harassment.
Ladies do not get drunk, pass out on a lawn. You know what I'm saying?
I do. And I have treated a number of these college girls, and they have all, and this is not to say that it's right, but they were all drunk. And
passed out dead drunk.
And what was so upsetting for me as a woman was that so many of these women acknowledged to me that they had sex with men who they did not find attractive and who they did not want to have sex with. They were not forced. It was not coercion.
You're being polite.
And they just were being
Haven't
polite.
we all?
Why not? Like, well, hey, why not? I'm going to have a drink. I'm going to have 5 drinks. You know, maybe it'll happen some other time, so maybe I'll just get over with now. And I've heard this a lot from Columbia students that I see in my practice, you know, who are no different than anybody else. So, you know, the other thing, too, though, is that with, you know, hormones and...
I'm going to get a glass of water. You talk, I'll be back.
Okay. You get a glass of water, and I'm going to talk about, you know, hormones, which is a whole, you know, other issue for women who are, you know, menopausal and post-menopausal. I think that this, too, is something that you really do need to talk about with your gynecologist, and the less amount of medicines and hormones that we put into our bodies, the better. And of course, if women are experiencing pain with intercourse, and I mean, the reality is, as we get older, even though, you know, none of us want to think about getting older, you know, the estrogen levels diminish, so that there are things that do need to be discussed with your gynecologist, you know, just to make sure that you're not dealing with things like, you know, endometriosis, or that there are any other pelvic issues that could be contributing to pain. So this is a medical issue. You know, what was really interesting, too, is that a couple that I'm working with right now who've been married for 32 years and had a wonderful marriage and a wonderful sex life, she started to experience a lot of pain with intercourse, and they really had very little sex within the last couple of years. And I said to her, I said, well, have you tried a lubricant?
Especially
like
an estrogen lubricant.
Yes, or a regular lubricant, just to see. And she was saying, it was so interesting, and she's actually an actress and a very liberal woman. She said that she was not comfortable using a lubricant because she was used to her body just becoming lubricated
Menopause
naturally.
Can really change your soul.
So I hope I gave her permission, and I hope I'm giving you all permission to use lubricants.
How do you feel about hormone replacement therapy for cisgender women? problematic because of the uterine cancer issue.
Well, have to be cautious. Have to maybe even look at some alternatives. And of course, being a radio talk show host on the Progressive Radio Network, I listen to Gary Null all the time, and I think that's look at alternative methods.
Are you on BAI?
No.
Okay.
No. For all kinds of medical and physical issues, and also psychological issues that people really are experiencing. And I think with the hormone situation, the lowest possible dose of hormones that you can possibly have that will really do the trick.
Ease the transition,
I want to ask you something.
Sure.
You must have had.
I've been taking hormones for 43 years.
Do you still take them?
Yes.
And if you were to stop, what would happen?
I would turn into your friendly neighborhood gay hairdresser.
You would. No, is that true? So that you will have to take the hormones.
Yes.
Forevermore.
But I have no uterus, so it's not dangerous.
And what about side effects that you may have?
Well, they do sometimes diminish one's libido, which is a problem.
Interesting.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
But don't forget, I did know about those orgasms that make your ears ring and think you're having a heart attack. So they don't diminish your libido that much.
That much. Mm-hmm. So again, people, if you're having issues, my mantra, and I talk about this on my Ask Beatty show, and my patients listen to this, all the time. It's always about acknowledging, addressing, and resolving issues as best as we possibly can, and it's a strength, not a weakness, to ask for help if you feel that you're just kind of going around on a merry-go-round.
Like that amazing 19-year-old young man.
He was incredible.
19, and he knows enough to go to a sex therapist.
Exactly.
And to do the work.
Yes.
Isn't that great?
Exactly. And of course, he did the work so quickly. I would think that most men are not going to be masturbating, 5 or 6 times a day. But he was determined.
I don't think they can.
But he did.
No, at 19 you can.
Yes,
but
yes.
After a while, the testosterone abates and it's lower.
Exactly. And I'm really glad that you're mentioning testosterone, because this is also something as men get older, and nobody wants to ever think about really getting older. But it's very important, especially if you're having some erectile dysfunction issues, to really check the testosterone levels. And I'll have men come in, whether it's for depression or whether or not it's for sex. And if they're having sexual problems, I will ask them, have you had a testosterone level done? And most will say no. And then the ones who have, I'll say, well, do you know the numbers? And they'll say no, and they'll say that the testosterone levels, their doctor said it's fine. And I said, well, I'm not so sure what fine really is. I want you to bring in the labs, and I will look at the labs, and there's virtually no testosterone.
Isn't that awful?
Because there's a huge range from about 150 to 1,000. That is a huge range. So if you're at 250, it's in that range.
Should men take hormone supplements then?
Testosterone is something that you need to discuss with your doctor.
I know from trans men, women who become men, that it can make people quite violent and give them terrible acne.
Yes.
And do all sorts of difficult things,
You got to be really careful with whether it's psychiatric drugs or whether or not it's with hormones. But these are things that really need to be discussed with your doctor. But, testosterone, the testosterone gel, can be very, very effective. But you need to get a baseline. And you need to ask. And if there are issues, then you need to be brave when you go to your doctor, because your doctor most likely is not going to ask you about your sex life.
Well, so many doctors are going to be midlife men themselves.
Right.
And do not want to see their own shortcomings, shall we say, reflected in their patients.
Exactly. But it is about, really saying to yourself, I want to be serious, and whatever my issues are, whether or not they're sexual or relationship or emotional or psychological, that I am willing to acknowledge and address and resolve whatever it is that is getting in the way of my life and my relationship. And it's not easy to take that initial step, and yet it can really, good therapy, it really can. And not all therapy is good therapy, so people have to be very, very careful who they're choosing to be their therapist. But really good therapy, and I've seen this for almost 30 years, I mean, it can really, 30 years, it's 35 years, can really change your life and your relationship forever.
And just your comfort level with yourself.
Absolutely.
If it's the right therapist.
If it's the right therapist. And you have to give yourself permission. If you're feeling that it's just not happening, if it's just not working, for example,
go to another one.
Go to another one. You have to be a really savvy consumer, whether it's with your doctor or whether or not it's with your therapist, because this is your life that we're talking about.
Yeah. And therapy is sort of like dating. Has to be the right one.
It has to be. And, people will ask me all the time, does there need to be a certain kind of chemistry? And I'm not talking about sexual chemistry. And the answer is yes. Like, I know with me, I expect people to work very, very hard. It's a very interactional kind of a
there's no quick fix. Lie down on the couch, you wave a magic wand, and they're whatever they want to be.
No.
We're almost out of time.
Okay, this has been wonderful.
Tell us about your radio show.
My radio show is Ask Beatty, and it is on the Progressive Radio Network every Monday afternoon live from 3 to 4. You can actually call me with any issues or questions that you might have. Last Monday was my 228th Ask Beatty show on this particular network. I've been doing radio and TV forever.
Wonderful.
And it's all about, just like you,
educating
people.
Tell us about your book.
The book, I'm so proud of this book, For Better, For Worse, Forever, Discover the Path to Lasting Love. This book teaches you how to assess who's right for you and who's wrong for you relationship-wise before you commit.
Amazon.com, right?
Amazon.com.
How can they contact you?
They can contact me on my BeattyCohan.com website. All the contact information is there. Yes, I am accepting new patients. And this has been wonderful being with you, Diana.
You're great, and I hope you come back. You're a great guest.
Thank you.
And listen, out there, I love you a lot. And you have to love yourself.
Right.
It's what Beatty's been saying. It's great if other people love you, but even if they don't, love yourself. And when you love yourself, strangely, other people will like you much more because they sense a very positive vibe from you.
Absolutely.
As opposed to, oh, nobody likes me. Don't think that way. Realize that if you love yourself, others will at least like you, if not love you, right?
Yes, right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I love you a lot. See you next time. Bye.
Mm-hmm.
Great shows.
You are terrific.
So are you.
We need to.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, have me on sometime.
Oh, no, definitely. You know what I was thinking, and this is something that the M&N, the producers were saying. They were talking about me doing a live call-in.
You should.